My advice to people is nobody's going to care about your money more than you do.
Say it again.
So if you aren't paying attention, if you're just saying, and I do these coaching calls, I'm like, okay, what are you investing your money in? Well, I'm in a 401k or I send it to a wealth manager or whatever. Okay, what does he have it in? I don't know. I just send him money every month. Good luck with that.
Hmm.
I mean, it kills me. You go to school for all this time, you get into all this debt to make money to build wealth, and you don't even pay attention to it anymore. What the hell is that?
Hmm.
I mean, wake up, people.
Welcome to the Real Estate Mogul MD podcast. Thanks for tuning in and taking control of your financial future. This is a show where we not only motivate and inspire, we give you actionable real-world experience to help you live life by design. You'll hear journeys and stories from other physicians, investors, coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs. And now, here's your host, Brett Riggins. What does retirement mean to you? Well, for a lot of people, it is not having to work. But the reality of it is it's replacing something with something. And I think the best, the way that I love to think about it is freedom, time freedom, geographic freedom, just all of these things that just allow me to do what I want versus doing something that I have to do. So there's the need versus want perception that we look at when it comes to retirement. One of the hardest parts to get there is the mindset. Sometimes we have to break these things that we've been conditioned to believe, conditioned to do, the way we feel about money. And so much of it can be done just by expanding your association, reaching out to others, listening, and your only tuition is going to be initiative and action. And if you want to do that, I'll tell you what, I reached out to today's guest just because I loved watching the content he's producing. And he is the creator of debtfreedoctor.com. In the world of medicine and now in the world of real estate, everybody, please welcome Dr. Jeff Anzalone to the show. All right, Jeff, welcome to the show. Man, how does it feel to be Jeff today?
It's nice because I'm not treating patients, so it's nice creating content. Created about 2 hours worth of content today, and I love doing it. Never thought I would like doing it until I did, and it's given me a different purpose to transition out of my practice to doing something that I can help a whole different set of people out there.
Yeah, and kind of like giving back to doctors now. And this is actually doctors, physicians, dentists. This is actually how I came across you, was from some of the content you had created, and I latched onto it right away. Loved it, reached out to you, and now we're here and we have the opportunity to speak with you about this. So let's give a little bit of background for the listeners, just about, let's start with your medical background. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I actually went to dental school, then did a residency at the VA hospital in Biloxi, got interested in surgery, went on and did a surgical residency, and got out and was on the Dave Ramsey typical path, pay off all your debts, the debt snowball. We had about $300,000 in student loan debt. And I started my own practice. I had a deal fall through. I was supposed to join a group. So I had to learn. So that really put me back in the hole. Because, most of the time when you get out, you join a group or you join a practice and you have a salary. Well, when I got out, I didn't have anything. And we had already bought a house because I was thinking I was going in with this group. So it really set me back, not only financially, but my mindset, because, a lot of times we're raised in a family where you hear things like things cost too much or we can't afford that. And Tom Brady once said, you have the information, the information that is limited. And that's all I knew back then. But what you don't know is limitless. And the only thing that I knew back then was money was scarce. And anytime that you would get it, you need to save it. Stick it under your mattress, stick it in a deep freezer or whatever, in a savings account, a CD, because it's limited. So when all this happened to me, it really set me back. And then I followed the Dave Ramsey plan. About 7.5 years, we had paid off all that debt plus that first house. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to follow his plan, invest in a 401k and live happily ever after till I'm 70 or whatever and work to then. And I'm looking at all the other dentists in my area, and that's what they do. So that was all I knew. Again, I was limited. And then, let's say I was 10 years after practice, I was 40, and we went snow skiing. And that was where the wake up call hit me, because I had a fall. When I fell, I injured my wrist. And that was, and you never think about, getting injured or sick or anything like that till it happens to you. And once that happened, I was thinking to myself, well, it's kind of hard to work on people without the use of your hands, right? And that was really scary, because at the time my kids were little. I'm like, there's no way I can continue to operate like this and provide for my family. So that's what got me into really studying what wealthy people do. And I took a deep dive reading books, podcasts, YouTube videos, and I really had to go back and unlearn everything that I had learned previously about money. Kind of like when you're playing golf, everything that you think you're supposed to do, tighten up and hit the ball hard, it's the complete opposite. You're supposed to be relaxed and just swing smoothly. And the things that I learned mainly from studying wealthy people was, number one, the majority of them invested in real estate. At that time, I didn't have any in my portfolio. And number two, the majority of them had multiple income streams, average 7 to 9. Only had one. So this really helped me narrow my focus on, I needed to figure out a way to invest in real estate for multiple income streams. And that's how I eventually got started.
That was interesting when you, basically when you had that injury, it was a eye-opening scenario for you. And I've seen this many, many times where it takes something like that to kind of set us back, because the foundations that are built inside of us, the conditioning from our parents, from society, from school, all of these things teaching us basically how to feel about money, the shortage mindset of it, what to do to prepare yourself for retirement. And that's something I'm excited to talk with you about as well too. Jeff, what does retirement mean to you?
I think it's going to mean differently to each person, because everybody's different. There's no way that I can just sit, after 2 or 3 days on vacation, I'm ready to get back and move around and do something. Whereas some people that I know that are in my family or distant family, they hardly ever work, or they've hardly ever worked, and that's fine with them. So to each his own. For me, the retirement is going to be, and I'm actually in the process of transitioning out of my practice into owning real estate, creating content about real estate, coaching, doing all of that stuff. So to me, that's going to be my retirement from dentistry, is moving from one thing to the next. And I think that's really important, that people are so focused on money with retirement, but they also need to focus on it. And they should go talk to people that are retired to find out the issues. A good friend of mine retired from the VA, and he's miserable. He's like, all he used to do is play golf. He's like, I'm gotten older. Everybody that I used to play golf with, they're not playing golf anymore. All I do is sit around and watch the news. He's not happy. And you've got to have something before you quit working that you're transitioning into, whether you want to coach football or volunteer at your church or travel more or whatever. But if you don't, think about, you have a purpose right now. When you get up every morning, to help people, to treat patients and provide for your employees, if you're self-employed like myself, and that's your purpose. But if you're not going from one thing that's giving you purpose to the next, then that's when it can't be a very happy retirement. So then what happens is people just work until they can physically no longer do it. And then they can't even enjoy what they've worked their whole life for. And I'm trying to get the message out there that I want people to get to the point where work is optional. And That could mean continue to work full time. That could be part time. That could be doing something completely different, like I'm going to be doing. So again, it's different from everybody, but I just want to give people information to let them know that they have options when it comes to retirement and money versus what most of us have been led to believe. There's only one option: stock market, 401k, work until you're 70. That's it.
I like one thing you said about retirement was replacing your expenses, basically. So replacing your income, replacing your expenses. So you have this path set that allows you to do things because you want them, as opposed to the reason being that you need to do them. So whether it's practicing medicine, picking up another trade, another skill, whatever it may be. So there are so many of us out there that have been blessed with the opportunity to do things that we're passionate about. And when the income aligns with something you're passionate about, it's not that, sometimes it's not that we necessarily want to retire, but maybe we want to get out of a race where we're not doing things because we have to. It's because we want to. And this path, I've watched some of your content, this path that you've set out about basically using limited partnerships in syndications to replace that income. And it's a very interesting video that you've got, excuse me, on your website, where you talk about basically taking 5 years. And if you have the deployable capital of $100,000 and implementing them into, say, 5 different syndications, and that cycle of how that turns, and eventually, in the land of theory, where if every project turns or goes full cycle in 5 years, this creates this machine that's then replacing your income, most of your income at $100,000 a year with that $500,000 deployable income, doing that every year. That is absolutely amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about kind of where your mind was at when you first started figuring out little things like that?
Yeah, the first time was when I invested in my first syndication, and I got that check. It's like $333.33. And I'd gotten something back from an investment, which that had never happened before with the office retirement account. And that money was basically tax free because of depreciation. I'm not going to go into all that, but I've got plenty of videos and articles on it. So I had $300 coming in every month that I could use to pay the cable bill or internet bill or whatever. And then I did another one. I added more and more. And it just was like, wait a minute, if this is possible, why aren't all these other people doing it now? And this was like 7 or 8 years ago. And I was like, well, I want to start letting people know about this. And I started the blog debtfreedoctor.com just to letting them know what I was doing. And so I spent the first 2 years just creating content on the blog. Then I eventually shifted over now more to YouTube because that's how I like to learn. But if you rather read stuff, that's fine. But the point being is you can use this money now before you reach 59 and a half, to where, you can't take money out of your 401k without being penalized before you're basically 60. But if you want to use that money now for something, you can with these syndications. And once I started learning about this, it was kind of like the Dave Ramsey debt snowball, where you start small and it builds. This is like a passive income snowball. You get a little bit each year, and you keep investing it. And it's like anything else. It's not a get rich quick thing. It's something that you have to be consistent with it. Just like if you want to be a 401k millionaire, you have to be consistent with it. You have to invest every single month, every single year, and then eventually compounds. And this is like that too. I think doctors make enough money that if they're consistent with it, 10 years or less, they should be to the point where they're either work is optional to them or very close to it, versus not doing it at all. So that's my personal experience with it.
Yeah. And the work is optional. I think that's a great way to look at it. And just so many times too, finding that same path where, we're taught or we're shown, or we're just so accustomed to doing things certain ways. And to break that path and show this new direction. And there's syndications, there's many other platforms out there, but the syndication piece as a limited partner allows you to reduce some of the time required. Now, obviously, just like you're saying, this is not a get rich quick. This is not an easy thing. This is long-term solutions for long-term people. And you've got to vet the jockeys. You've got to make sure the operators, know what they're doing, because you could put $100,000 into something and you could lose it.
Yeah, for sure. That's the most important thing. The analogy that I give is I graduated with a 60 dentist, and I would only let about 3 of them work on me, but they're all dentists. So like the syndicators out there, the general partners, there's a ton of them. And I've been in masterminds, I've been in online groups with them, and I see what goes behind the scenes. I see the conversations, and it's scary thinking these people that are asking these questions are actually going out and taking money from people and putting it in. And it's just, it's mind boggling what goes on out there. So my advice is, before you do invest, make sure you do your due diligence, make sure you talk with other people that have invested with these groups. You want to look at their track record. And with all this stuff going on, I used to raise money for other people's deals, but you can't control what other people do. Sometimes they were good. Sometimes, come to find out, they weren't as good as I thought. Whether they told me things that they were not supposed to or not. So I took it upon myself to start my own group with my partner, co-founded the Blue Metric Group, where we invest in RV parks all across the country. Now, this is something that I can control. Is it going to be 100% perfect? No. I mean, nothing in life is. But now I'm able to oversee these things versus giving the control to other people to let them do apartments or self-storage or whatever. And that just makes me feel better at night, because, I have my reputation on the line. I have a lot of my own money, blood, sweat, and tears in this project. And that's what I decided to go moving forward, because people would come in and go, Jeff, you're educating us with all this stuff, but who can we invest with? Where can we invest? And, sometimes it was, if I'm sending them to go somewhere else, may have like a little uneasy feeling, because it's my reputation, but inevitably is this person, can they perform for my investor? And that just, the longer that I did that, the more it started weighing on me, to the point where now I'm able to do something on my own. And, it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. If you want some of the things that we talked about, but some people are happy. Like, I have people in my family that there's no way they would want to start their own business. They're happy being an employee. They want to work until they're 60 or 70. They're fine with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just talking to the people out there that want more, that want to achieve more, that don't want to work their whole entire life, that they want to have options. So that's who I'm really speaking to out there.
And you talked about being in masterminds, and that's a great way to grow, expanding your associations, expanding your knowledge base. But when you were in these masterminds, you were seeing people asking questions, learning as they were basically putting other people's money at risk, because they were, still learning through the process. We all have a lot to learn. We all, hopefully we will never stop learning. But when you say that, it's very interesting, because you're in the masterminds with these other active partners, general partner sponsors, that are out there raising capital, doing deals that hadn't quite learned what they needed to learn yet.
Well, let me take it a step further. Here's the scary part. Yeah, you're right. You have to learn somewhere. You have to start somewhere. I don't have a problem with that. But what I was seeing going on behind the scenes is, they would be on this message board and they go, hey, has anybody ever worked with company XYZ? And then people would start chiming in, and all they were focused on were what kind of fee could they pay them? Who has the highest fee? Doesn't matter what their track record is. Doesn't matter what they've done in the past. It doesn't matter anything like that. It's where can I go to raise capital where I'm going to be compensated the most? And I would say that was the majority of those capital raisers out there, and weren't putting any skin in the game. So, and you think about it and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they do that, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's no different than what the majority of the financial advisors do.
Yeah.
They're taking your money. And, like my grandmother, she passed away. She was like 86, 87. And we looked at her, once she passed away, I got a copy of like all of her investments, and at an 86-year-old, they were just buying stocks every single day, just churning to get those fees.
Wow.
And I told my dad I wanted to call the guy at Chase to call him out on it, but he was like, I just let it rest or whatever. Cause I'm just like, how unethical is that?
Right.
But again, my advice to people is nobody's going to care about your money more than you do.
Say it again.
So if you aren't paying attention, if you're just saying, and I do these coaching calls, I'm like, okay, what are you investing your money in? Well, I'm in a 401k or I send it to a wealth manager or whatever. Okay, what does he have it in? I don't know. I just send him money every month. Good luck with that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it kills me. You go to school for all this time, you get into all this debt to make money to build wealth, and you don't even pay attention to it anymore. What the hell is that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, wake up, people. And then you're scared to approach them to get your money out of it. Oh, my financial advisor, he told me I shouldn't do that or whatever. It's like, whose money is it? Yours or theirs? Dude, I can't tell you how brainwashed people are. People are so freaking stupid when it comes to their money, and they're scared. It's like, grow some kahunas. It's your money. It's your money. You have control.
And I've said that so many times. Nobody's going to care more about your money than you do. And through the years, I mean, it's literally brought me to tears as I traversed through those hurdles myself. And then, as you're growing, you're scaling, you're relying on more people, but it's all coming down to finding the right people to partner with, that layer of integrity that's there, and the genuine connection where, they just, maybe their priorities are set on something else. Maybe there's a higher standard for them. Everybody's still going to make mistakes no matter where you're at or what you believe in, but there's a core that comes with that genuine, true integrity, and that's not going to, dollar signs change. Dollar signs elevate the good, and dollar signs elevate the bad. So if people are out there shopping, raising money, trying to find the biggest fee, guess what? They're not going to be looking for the best operator. So where does that go right now with where the market's at right now, Jeff? Kind of like on a turn, interest rates are just starting to drop. We're recording this here in almost getting into the fourth quarter, September, October, November. So almost getting into the fourth quarter in 24. I'm counting months on my fingers here. And interest rates coming down a little bit. The cycles of real estate are interesting, how residential goes and then, commercial kind of follows in behind it kind of deal. Where are we at right now? And what does that mean with the syndication world?
Well, I can only talk about my personal experience. I started off in apartments, did some self-storage, Airbnbs, and now RV parks and mobile home parks. So I've been able to look at all the different asset classes, and there's so many different ways, so many different reasons why I like RV parks and mobile home parks. But to answer your question, and I got a text message yesterday, so this will be an easy way to answer your question, from my mobile home park business partner. We own 6 mobile home parks currently in Louisiana. And he told me that the first one that we invested in 2 years ago in South Louisiana, currently we're both making about 30% on our money. Can't do that in the stock market.
Mm-mm.
And this is just why I was explaining to my wife and my oldest son last night about this, of just like, this is what makes real estate so incredible that people don't grasp. And once you grasp this concept, you could do it with if you're going to buy properties, they can do it in syndications, whatever. So we split the down payment. We're making 30% of our money. Rates have come down. So now the mortgage broker contacted us, and we've already run the numbers. We're going to be able to cash out and refinance. We're going to get all of our money back out. Number one. Number two, we're going to be able to completely pave the roads. So now when we pave the roads, we'll eventually be able to get, Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac financing, which is going to be an even lower interest rate. Number three, we still get the same monthly cash flow, even though we don't have money in the deal. And number four, our monthly payment has gone down. I mean, I don't really know how it gets any better than that when you can find stuff like that. And then, if you're in a syndication, same thing. They can do a cash out, refinance, get a portion of your investment back, sometimes even all of it. Because after we're in all of our RV parks, after 3 years, we're looking to see if we could cash out and refinance and get the investor a portion or all of their money back. But they stay in the deal. Then you can take that money and redeploy it. You can't do that when you're buying stocks and bonds and mutual funds. You have to stay in there when you take your money out, as you know, you're taxed and, capital gains tax. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't take, I don't know. I just don't understand why people just don't take their money and building wealth seriously. They just look at what everybody else is doing. And I guess everybody is in the same boat because everybody's doing the same thing. And I'm trying to get the message out that you really have to, like you said, like we just talked about, nobody is going to care more about their money. So if that's the case, now is the time to look at what you're doing, what you've done. And then if you need to make some course corrections, do it moving forward.
Yeah. What's the biggest difference when it comes to depreciation with, the RV parks, mobile home parks? Because, when we look at cost segregations to do this accelerated depreciation schedule, it's based off of certain things in the structure that I guess for the most part, RV parks wouldn't have unless you have buildings on the site as well. So what's the biggest difference that in your experience with the depreciation factor of the RV parks?
Yeah, I think there's so much information out there on real estate, on taxes, on depreciation. And when people are just overwhelmed, they don't do anything. Analysis paralysis. And this will stop people in their tracks. For 99.9% of the people investing out there, it doesn't matter because it's not going to affect their taxes. It'll affect the taxes they pay on their investment, but it has nothing to do with, so to me, it doesn't really matter about any of that, as long as you can get tax-free income, which, if you put $100,000 into, let's say, an RV park syndication, you're going to get anywhere from 60 to 80% of the purchase price in year one depreciation.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Yeah. So you get a ton of depreciation. So if the purchase price is, $5 million, you're going to get 60 to 80% of that. So pretty much if you're a passive investor, you're always going to have a whole lot more depreciation built up than you are passive income. And then you keep consistently investing, and the more that you're investing, the more you're building up that depreciation. And then when you go to sell, a lot of times you can use that to offset your capital gains. But the goal is, and you don't need as much money, in my opinion, that the advisors tell you, because they'll tell you you're going to need $10 million or $15 million or whatever. Yeah, that's because you got to pay them their fee, and they're going to be traveling your whole career while you're working, living off your dime. I mean, what profession do you know? It doesn't matter if you make money this year in the stock market or not, they still get paid. That's the best profession in the world. I wish I could do that, but yeah, that's the thing. So my point is, you don't need as much money as you think. So if you're making $300,000 a year, but then you're paying 50% in taxes, you're only taking home 150. Okay. Think about how many hours you have to work a year to put that 150 grand in your pocket. Now you can invest in different things to give you $150,000 in tax-free income. It doesn't take a whole lot of money. It doesn't take $10 million or $15 million to get to the point to get 150 grand in tax-free income coming into your pocket, is what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, they don't want to teach you that, because that doesn't help them. That doesn't help them collect fees. There are very few pro real estate advisors out there that really want to look at the overall picture, that, that want to help, that want to help the doctor out there. I'm not anti stock market. I've got a lot of money in index funds. I think an office 401k and that sort of thing, that comes in as part of the overall plan. But to say, yeah, you should never do real estate or you should never do anything outside the stock market, if people are interested in doing something, I don't think you're doing, if you're an advisor, your client justice. The thing is, they're going to find out about it and they're going to get pissed off and they'll fire you, knowing that you haven't been looking out on their best interest. So, and I think you need multiple people. I mean, the Bible says to surround yourself with counselors, with advisors, somebody look at your taxes, somebody to help you with real estate, somebody to help you with, if you're going to be buying practices, there's a lot of people out there that are buying, that's their retirement. They're going out and they're buying different practices. So I think to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you to help guide you down that process.
Yeah. And just like with the operators in syndications, is vetting those people, really understanding who you're listening to. You've got a ton of stuff here, and the website is debtfreedoctor.com, DEBTFREEDR.com, debtfreedoctor.com. And you can also find the YouTube on there too, where you're putting out a lot of content, helping out a lot of people, and just passionate about making this change in life, to move away from what we're consistently conditioned by, whether it's from our family, from education, or from the lack of those things. It's really, just, I don't know, making a wave in the scene, Jeff, is what it is. And once you get past that piece, because you and I can sit here and talk all day about nobody's going to care more about your money than you do and all these different things that you need to do and show you all of these things that are out there. But if we can't get past that trust piece, that's huge. And the idea that, sometimes it's difficult. Maybe you've been burned once, maybe you've been burned twice, that there are people out there who are not trying to get something from you, but are trying to get something for you. And this difference here of providing that platform to make this change, because it all starts in the mind. The mindset is so important. Our beliefs of money, what it takes to make it, how we need to hold it, what it's worth, what it brings me. Ultimately, to get to that point where you can work because you want to, or maybe you don't want to work because you don't want to, just create that lifestyle of freedom and being able to give back in certain ways that you would never imagine possible. Real estate is a great way to do it. And there's so many different platforms. You've talked about a few different ones here today. More of them can be learned on the debtfreedoctor.com. Last question I have for you today, Jeff, is if you could go back 15 years and sat beside somebody, maybe was in med school or just along the same path that you were, but you had the knowledge that you have today, what would you tell that person if you could go back 15 years ago, sit beside them and speak to them?
Yeah, I do it all the time when I do coaching. When people are right out of the training, I just tell them, I could talk to 100 people and maybe 2 of them will follow my advice. That's just how it is, because we're so ready to get out. We're so ready to, we've delayed gratification. We're ready to make money, but yet we won't delay gratification anymore. We see the finish line. And that is, and you've heard it before, it's nothing new. Continue to live like a student, continue to live like a resident until you get all of that student loan paid off and get at least $100,000 built up. So now you have something, so you're debt free except for your house. If you could rent, that's even better. If I could just say rent a house, people don't understand how expensive. They're like, oh, well, my mortgage payment is going to be $2,500 a month, and I'm going to be spending $2,000 a month in rent. That doesn't make sense. If you own a house like me, you understand all the expenses, taxes, insurance, maintenance that comes with a house. So if you could continue to rent, live like a student for 5 years or longer, if needed, to pay off all that debt, to not go out and buy the $1 million practice. You can work as an associate or a partner or whatever and get paid a lot of money. So you're not having to go out and get debt for that. Get $100,000. Now you're on your way. You have a clean slate and you can get started. But what do most people do? They get out, they buy the doctor house, the cars, privates, everything just keeps getting more expensive. Private school, kids start driving, insurance, and it's just like if you don't do it initially, early on, it's very, very hard to do it the older you get because you're set in your ways. It's harder to move. I mean, just so the earlier I can start getting the information to people, the better.
That's amazing. That is great advice. That renting piece is a cool perspective too. And while you were saying that, it makes me think of, you offer so much help and so much advice to so many people. And really, there's so many of us out there would say, hey, it's not going to cost you anything. Your tuition is going to be initiative and action. Those two things can carry you so far. Yeah, you can make mistakes, but hey, that's what it takes to learn, right? If you're not just grilling yourself over the mistakes that you make, you're using them to gain knowledge and grow. It's a great spot to be. And finding that place where you're avoiding lifestyle creep, Jeff, is a really important place, because just like we're conditioned to feel certain ways about money, we're conditioned to feel certain ways about things that we have, the material things, and what's the neighbor have, and what's this other doctor have, what's this other dentist have, and comparing ourselves to that lifestyle creep is just going to keep rocking and rolling and rocking and rolling, and you creating a machine that's going to kill you, because you're going to have to keep working the need versus the want. And then we're talking about emotional stability, mental health when we get to that point. It's just not a road that is welcome for anybody. So the debtfreedoctor.com, we could continue to talk for hours and hours. I'm excited to see some of that content you were producing yet today. So much cool stuff there, Jeff. Thank you so much for everything that you do, sharing with other physicians and dentists to break this cycle, just to let people know there's more out there. And that lifestyle freedom is within reach, but it's a long-term solution. You have to be focused. You have to be willing and able to offset that reward. That delayed gratification is a huge piece of this, and it's there. Real estate is a platform to get there. Thank you again for your time today, Jeff.
My pleasure. Happy to help.
Awesome. And to the listeners and to the viewers out there on YouTube, hey, thank you for your attention. Like always, this is stuff that you need to put your attention on. Whether you're in med school, listening to Jeff's advice about just getting out there, getting debt free, getting that first bubble of capital, deployable capital in, and then what to do with it is really important. Watch the lifestyle creep, because that's something that creeps up and affects our mental health as well. Check out debtfreedoctor.com when you get the chance. Follow them on YouTube. Awesome stuff. I promise you, you're going to love it. And this is Real Estate Mogul MD.